Meanwhile, here in the United States, people waking up this morning to the staggering and incredibly sad news that Vice President Joe Biden's son, Beau Biden, died of brain cancer yesterday at the age of 46. Beau Biden was a rising political star. When Joe Biden left the Senate for the White House, for the vice presidency in 2009, Beau was considered for that seat. He was Delaware's attorney general at the time. More recently, after leaving that office, Biden was said to be thinking about a run for Delaware governor in 2016. In fact, he had said he wanted to run for governor of Delaware in 2016. As a member of the Army's JAG Corps, Biden was deployed to Iraq back in 2008. He spent 1 year there, returning only for a brief visit when his father was sworn in as vice president. The vice president releasing a statement last night reading in part, quote, "Beau's life was defined by service to others. As a young lawyer, he worked to establish the rule of law in war-torn Kosovo. A major in the Delaware National Guard, he was an Iraq War veteran and was awarded the Bronze Star. As Delaware's attorney general, he fought for the powerless. He made it his mission to protect children from abuse. More than his professional accomplishments, Beau measured himself as a husband, father, son, and brother. Beau embodied my father's saying that a parent knows success when his child turns out better than he did." Beau Biden was the oldest of Joe Biden's 3 surviving children. Beau's mother and baby sister died in a 1972 car accident when they'd been out in the family station wagon shopping for a Christmas tree. Beau and his brother Hunter survived that crash, but they would spend many months in the hospital. Joe Biden was at that time in Washington on that day because this all happened right after Joe Biden had first been elected to the Senate at the age of 29. It happened in those months after the election of 1972 when he won his Senate seat, but before he was actually sworn in as a senator in January of 1973. Beau talked about that time in his moving introduction to his father at the 2008 Democratic National Convention.
One of my earliest memories was being in that hospital. My dad always at our side. We, my brother and I, not the Senate, were all that he cared about. He decided not to take the oath of office. He said then, Delaware can get another senator, but my boys can't get another father. However, great men like Ted Kennedy, Mike Mansfield, Hubert Humphrey, men who have been tested in their own right, convinced him to serve. He was sworn in the hospital at my bedside.
And throughout his 3 decades in the Senate, Joe Biden would make the long commute from Delaware to Washington and back every day by Amtrak so he could see his family. He could see his sons every night. In 2012, just before Memorial Day, Vice President Biden talked to military families who had lost their own sons and their own daughters about how difficult it is to go through something like that in life.
Saying that my family been in an accident. And just like you guys know, by the tone of the phone call, you just knew, didn't you? You knew when they walked up the path. You knew when the call came. You knew. You just felt it in your bones. Something bad happened. And I knew. I don't know how I knew. But the call said my wife was dead. My daughter was dead, and I wasn't sure how my sons were going to make it. For the first time in my life, I understood how someone could consciously decide to commit suicide. And by the way, to the moms and dads, no parent should be predeceased by their son or daughter. I unfortunately had that experience too. And I remember looking up and saying, God, as if I was talking to God myself. You can't be good. How can you be good? You probably handled it better than I did. But I was angry.
Now, earlier this month, Beau Biden was admitted to Walter Reed Medical Center outside of Washington. No details on why were given at the time. In 2010, it was reported that Beau had suffered a small stroke. In 2013, doctors removed what they described as a small lesion from his brain. Only 2 weeks ago, the vice president giving the commencement address at Yale, and while he didn't talk about his son's fight with cancer, he did talk at length about how proud he was of him, and he spoke once again about that crash that nearly killed Beau Biden and his brother, taking on the lives of his wife and baby daughter.
6 weeks after my election, my whole world was altered forever. While I was in Washington hiring staff, I got a phone call. My wife and 3 children were Christmas shopping. Tractor trailer broadsided it and killed my wife and killed my daughter. And they weren't sure that my sons would live. Many people have gone through things like that. But because I had the incredible good fortune of an extended family, grounded in love and loyalty, imbued with a sense of obligation imparted to each of us, I not only got help, but by focusing on my sons, I found my redemption.
And knowing what we know now, that speech by Joe Biden just a few weeks ago, even more powerful to listen to this morning. Joining me now, Steve Clemons, the Atlantic's Washington editor-at-large and an MSNBC contributor, also a friend of the late Beau Biden. And this morning's panel is here with us, too. Steve Moore, chief economist at the Heritage Foundation, Eleanor Clift, Washington correspondent with the Daily Beast, and Sahil Kapoor, a reporter for Bloomberg Politics. But we'll start with you, Steve Clemons. So you knew Beau Biden. Tell us about the man you knew.
It's hard to keep composure at a time like this because Beau was really one of those extraordinary people. I don't mean this in a cliche in any way, in which you see someone very much like his dad, who was committed to protecting people. That whole family, they've got, the kind of cornered the market on either protecting women of domestic violence or children from child molestation, which Beau was a real gladiator on behalf of kids inside Delaware. And he just served. And, one of the things when you meet people in politics today who you see clearly moving up the political ladder like Beau was, but not as a nasty person or as a ruthless person, someone who has aspirations, wants to do good things, and yet brings a kind of goodness to it. And it's hard to convey to people. What we're hearing in the news today is how obsessed all those members of that family are with each other. They're very mutually supportive because the family's been hit with so many different things. To see them tie together, to be supportive, despite a lot of hits, a lot of things we're not talking about the news today, that they're just a very resilient, strong family. And Beau, I remember I've talked to him, many times. He liked the blog. He would be on MSNBC. We'd run into each other in Dover or Wilmington or his dad's house. But I remember one time in particular where after his father had really, on a morning talk show, had kicked open the door on LGBT and same-sex marriage, much to the consternation of some people in the White House. And that created a week of havoc. And both Hunter and Beau both made it clear to me that their father would never apologize for stepping forward for the rights of people to marry and love each other. He was a very powerful, wonderful man.
Steve Clemons, thanks. Please stay with us. The Vice President's office was announced the death of Beau Biden last night, getting more reaction now also from the White House. So let's go live to the White House and bring in NBC News' Kristen Welker. Kristen, what are you hearing over there?
Well, Steve, look, this is a Capitol that is in mourning. Vice President Biden, as you said, announced his son's passing late Saturday night, writing in a statement, quote, "It is with broken hearts that Hallie, Hunter, Ashley, Jill, and I announce the passing of our husband, brother, and son, Beau, after he battled brain cancer with the same integrity, courage, and strength he demonstrated every day of his life." President Obama just moments later released his own statement, writing, "Michelle and I are grieving tonight. Beau Biden was a friend of ours." The younger Biden was diagnosed with brain cancer, just to recap, nearly 2 years ago, Steve. But after aggressive treatment, he was given a clean bill of health. A lot of people were hopeful here. And then earlier this year, he suffered a relapse. He was readmitted to Walter Reed about a week and a half ago. Now, Beau Biden was a political rising star in his own right. He was an Iraq War veteran who had earned a Bronze Star. He served as Delaware's 44th Attorney General from 2007 to 2015. He was widely expected to run for governor of Delaware in 2016. But those who knew Beau Biden say he valued family above everything else. His wife, Hallie, his children, Natalie and Hunter. Those pictures just heartbreaking to look at this morning. Condolences have been pouring in from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, from former President Bill Clinton, many noting that Beau was a lot like his dad. Speaking for the entire family, Joe Biden said, quote, "Beau Biden was quite simply the finest man any of us have ever known." And Steve, I think that captures what so many here are saying and feeling this morning. Steve?
Yeah, and Kristen, you mentioned some of the chronology now. I imagine we're going to learn more about this in the coming days, but this is one of those situations where we had sort of sporadic reports over really the last few years that maybe his health might not be that great. But I guess that news last night came as such a shock to people, in part because not many people, I think, recognized the gravity of the situation, the severity of the situation in terms of Beau Biden's health.
I think you're absolutely right, Steve. This was a diagnosis that the Biden family had largely kept private. Some in Vice President Biden's inner circle knew that the diagnosis was very serious, but I think very few people grasped just how serious the diagnosis was. A lot of people, though, when Beau Biden was readmitted to the hospital just over 10 days ago, knew that was certainly not a good sign. Everyone sending their thoughts and prayers over the past several days, hoping that this would not be the outcome. So really everyone here just in mourning today. Steve?
All right, Kristen Welker live at the White House. Thank you very much for that report.